What happens when your ambitious new coworker systematically sabotages your work in front of executives and everyone believes him? When 45-year-old senior analyst Ezra Matthews discovered that Kevin's fake MBA was just the beginning of his deception, his methodical response turned a simple office rivalry into a career-ending scandal that exposed everything. Ezra watched as Kevin stood at the conference table, pointing to Ezra's presentation with a smug smile. "I'm sorry, but these numbers don't match our client data at all," Kevin announced to the room of executives. "This is completely wrong." Ezra stared at his laptop screen in disbelief. The spreadsheet he'd spent weeks perfecting now showed completely different figures. As the executives murmured among themselves, Ezra realized this wasn't an accident. Kevin had sabotaged his work. But Kevin had no idea that Ezra was about to uncover a secret that would destroy his career forever. Ezra Matthews had worked at Henderson & Associates for 12 years. At 45, he was the senior financial analyst everyone respected. His presentations were flawless, his reports always accurate, and his attention to detail legendary. That's why what happened in the Monday morning meeting felt like a nightmare. Kevin Rodriguez had joined the firm 6 months ago as a junior analyst. 28 years old, fresh MBA, designer suits, and confidence that bordered on arrogance. From day one, Kevin seemed determined to prove he belonged at the top, not the bottom. "I think there might be some confusion with the Morrison account," Kevin had said during his first week reviewing Ezra's quarterly report. "These projections seem optimistic." The way he said it, with that slight pause, made it sound like Ezra didn't know what he was doing. But Ezra's projections weren't optimistic. They were based on 12 years of experience and proven methodology. Still, Kevin's comment planted a seed of doubt in their supervisor's mind. Over the following months, small discrepancies began appearing in Ezra's work. A decimal point moved here, a formula changed there. Nothing major enough to cause serious problems, but enough to make Ezra look careless. Each time, Kevin would be the one to point out the mistakes with false concern. "Hey, Ezra, I think there might be an error in the Richardson file," Kevin would say, loud enough for others to hear. "Want me to take a look at it for you?" Ezra started double-checking everything, then triple-checking, but somehow errors kept appearing in his final submissions. His confidence began to waver. Maybe he was getting too old for this job. Maybe the younger generation really was sharper. The breaking point came during that Monday morning meeting with the Morrison Industries executives. Ezra had prepared his presentation the night before, triple-checking every number, every chart, every calculation. It was perfect. But when he opened his laptop in the conference room, everything was wrong. Revenue projections showed impossible figures. Growth percentages made no sense. The entire presentation looked like amateur work.
Kevin pounced immediately. "I'm concerned about the accuracy of this data," he said, his voice carrying just the right amount of professional worry. "Perhaps we should postpone until we can verify these numbers." The Morrison executives exchanged glances. Their account was worth $2 million annually. They couldn't afford mistakes. "We'll reschedule," said Margaret Henderson, the firm's managing partner. Her disappointment was obvious. "Kevin, can you prepare a corrected version for Friday?" Kevin nodded with false humility. "Of course. I'll make sure everything is accurate." Ezra sat in stunned silence as the meeting dissolved. 12 years of reputation crumbling in 15 minutes. That afternoon, Margaret called Ezra into her office. "I'm concerned," she said carefully. "This isn't like you. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Maybe you need some time off." The suggestion hung in the air like a threat. Time off was often the first step toward early retirement. Ezra assured her he was fine, that he'd figure out what went wrong. But as he walked back to his desk, Ezra noticed Kevin's satisfied smile. That's when suspicion turned to certainty. Ezra had built his career on attention to detail. That same skill would now be Kevin's downfall. He started small. Security cameras in the office showed Kevin staying late 3 nights that week, always on the nights before Ezra's important presentations. The IT department confirmed that Kevin had requested after-hours access to the shared drive for backup purposes. Ezra asked his friend Mike in IT for a favor. "Can you check if anyone's been accessing my files remotely?" Mike's findings were damning. Kevin had been logging into Ezra's work folders regularly, always late at night, always making small changes to crucial files. "He's good," Mike admitted. "Changed just enough to make you look incompetent, but not enough to cause major damage to the company. Smart strategy." Smart, but not smart enough. Ezra decided to set a trap. He created a fake presentation for a fictitious client filled with obviously correct data and saved it in his usual folder. Then he waited. Sure enough, 2 nights later, Kevin accessed the file. When Ezra checked the next morning, several key numbers had been altered to look wrong. Now Ezra had proof. But he wanted more than justice. He wanted answers. Why was Kevin targeting him specifically? The answer came from an unexpected source. During lunch with his wife Sarah, Ezra mentioned his workplace troubles. Sarah worked in HR at a competing firm and knew the industry gossip. "Kevin Rodriguez," she repeated thoughtfully. "That name sounds familiar." She pulled out her phone and scrolled through old emails. "Here it is. He applied to work at our company last year. We rejected him." "Why?" Sarah's expression darkened. Background check revealed some irregularities with his MBA. The university confirmed he never graduated. Completely fake diploma. Ezra felt his pulse quicken. "Are you sure?" "Positive. We reported it to his current employer at the time. Apparently, he was fired within a week." Sarah paused. "Wait, if he's working at your firm now..." The pieces fell into place. Kevin had somehow convinced Henderson and Associates to hire him despite being fired for fraud. He was living on borrowed time, and he needed a scapegoat when his incompetence eventually showed. Ezra, the respected senior analyst, was the perfect target. Kevin's plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Gradually undermine Ezra's reputation while positioning himself as the reliable alternative. When Ezra inevitably got fired or demoted, Kevin would step into his role. But Kevin had made one fatal mistake. He'd chosen to mess with someone who'd built his career on uncovering the truth. Ezra spent the next week gathering evidence. He contacted Kevin's previous employer and confirmed the firing. He reached out to the university and verified the fake diploma. He documented every instance of file tampering, every suspicious late-night access. By Friday, when Kevin was scheduled to present his corrected version of Ezra's work, everything was ready. The conference room filled with the same executives from Monday's disaster. Kevin stood confidently at the front, his presentation perfect because it was actually Ezra's original work with the sabotage numbers fixed. "As you can see," Kevin was saying, "the corrected projections show much more realistic growth patterns." "Excuse me," Ezra interrupted, standing up. "Before we continue, I think everyone should know something important about this presentation." Margaret looked annoyed. "Ezra, this really isn't the time. This is exactly the time." Ezra opened his laptop and connected it to the projector. "Because what Kevin is presenting right now is actually my original work, the work he sabotaged Monday night at 11:47 p.m. The room went silent. Kevin's face went pale. Ezra displayed the IT logs showing Kevin's unauthorized access to his files. He showed the original timestamps of his work versus Kevin's alterations. He presented the security footage of Kevin staying late on strategic nights. "But that's not the most interesting part," Ezra continued calmly. "The most interesting part is that Kevin Rodriguez doesn't actually have an MBA. His diploma is completely fake. He was fired from his previous job for fraud." Kevin tried to speak, but no words came out. Margaret's voice was ice cold. "Is this true?" Ezra handed her printed copies of everything: the university verification, the previous employer's statement, the complete documentation of Kevin's deception. The Morrison executives watched in fascination as Kevin's career imploded in real time. "Security will escort you out," Margaret told Kevin. "We'll be in touch through our lawyers." As Kevin was led away, he finally found his voice. "You don't understand," he called back desperately. "I needed this job. I have student loans to pay for a degree I never got." Ezra felt no satisfaction in the moment, only the quiet justice of truth finally surfacing. 6 months later, Henderson and Associates promoted Ezra to Senior Director of Financial Analysis. The Morrison account grew by 30% under his leadership. Kevin's sabotage had actually demonstrated just how valuable Ezra's real expertise truly was. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't elaborate or dramatic. Sometimes, it's simply letting someone's own deceptions catch up with them while you quietly document the truth. Have you ever had a coworker try to sabotage your work? How did you handle it? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Hidden Hearth for more workplace justice stories.